Good morning, folks, and today I have the pleasure of having Warren Phillips on the channel. Warren is well known in the EV circles for being one of the driving forces behind EVA England, but we'll get to that. We'll start off with some of the basics. First of all, good morning, Warren.
Morning, mate. How are you?
Not too bad for Sunday. It's not raining, so that's always a bonus, isn't it?
It is raining here. It started raining about 20 minutes ago, so if I have to leap up and close the window, I apologise now.
You should move.
It's not sideways yet.
You should move to beautiful Yorkshire then.
Look, I love Yorkshire. My best friend lives just nearby, and his wife is from Yorkshire. So you know, part of my heart is in Yorkshire.
Oh, good. That's great to hear, and that our members will certainly love hearing that. So let's start with a question, the kind of question I ask most interviewees, and something that's always of interest me. When did your own personal EV journey start?
Oh, right. I see. I feel like everyone knows this because I talk about it so much. But I've always been into engineering. I've always been into computers. As a kid, I grew up loving cars and loving airplanes. So avionic engineering is my first love. So I've always kind of been into technology, all this kind of stuff. But the real one for me was when my daughter was born. You have that realization that actually maybe all these things I'm doing are quite selfish. You know, I'm all these flashy cars and, you know, all these things aren't really what you should be trying to do to make the world better. And I want to make things better for her. And that was kind of my first real change to not just EVs, but the whole, you know, sort of eco, shall we say, for lack of a better word, you know, road to carbon zero. You know, there's lots of ways to put this, but yeah, that was the first thing that really sort of made me sit up and pay attention to it. Yeah, so in 2015 we bought we were looking for a house, and we were actively looking for a house which had the ability for some eco stuff, so solar panels. We're looking for a house which had an off-street parking so we could have an electric car, and so that was kind of when we first did it. We bought a house in the September. We moved in the August we moved in September the solar panels were fitted, and in the October our Renault Zoe turned up. So pretty much since then I've been doing this kind of stuff. So
your first EV was a 22 kilowatt Zoe then?
Still got it. Well, we still have one. Actually, my wife wrote that one off, but we have another one. We bought the identical car. I mean, and when I say identical, I think there's about 50 car difference in the VIN number. Oh, wow. So it's probably from the same batch. So yeah, we love it. It still does us for, I'd say, 90% of our journeys.
Yeah, I started off also in 2015 with a 24 kilowatt Japanese built Leaf Center, which I love that car. Lost a bar very quickly, and what happened was with me is the dealer very quickly contacted me and got me to switch up to the 30, which I only got rid of a year and a half ago, and that drove that all over. Love it. And so do you think that I think there's sort of three camps with EV drivers. I think you've got the people who come at it from an eco point of view, and then you've got the camp of the people that come at it from a tech point of view, and the eco comes later, like with yourself.
I'd say you've got those three camps. There's definitely eco, there's tech, and then there's money.
Yeah, I was going to say, that was the other camp I didn't mention.
The cheapest ships ones. No mention of a good Yorkshireman up there. What am I going to say? For me, it's been a both. I like my tech. I like tech. So I was into Tesla. I was into all that kind of stuff already. But for the Zoe, it was much more of a combination of eco and probably money. So with all the stuff we did, the deal with my wife is we can do this stuff, we can do whatever we want, as long as it doesn't bankrupt us, we're okay. So so all the stuff I do is basically what she puts down to, you know, with our friends, it's their flashy cars or their flashy bicycles or their Rolexes or whatever it is that they have. my eco stuff is our thing. So, you know, the solar panels, Tesla Powerwall, the triple glazing, the air source heat pump, all that stuff is my equivalent of that. And as long as it doesn't bankrupt us, she's quite happy with it. And to be honest, the car was saving us money. The Zoe was so cheap. I mean, it was unbelievably cheap. It was £118 a month on that lease. It was, we got rid of my wife's car, and it ended up, it was supposed to be her car, but we were fighting over it. We had to buy a second EV. It was so cheap. I mean, we were spending £150 in petrol on her car a month, and this was £118 and about £3 a month to run. And that was £3 being really, 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 really conservative on the estimate. I actually worked out that car, the first 3,500 miles in that car cost us less than £50 because we charge mainly from our solar panels or free charging in car parks and stuff. So
it's funny, isn't it? I mean, when I first got my first Leaf, I'd already got a break planned in Edinburgh. We'd got something booked, and it was the only car I had, and so I had to sort of give myself a steep learning curve. I drove to Edinburgh and back in my first Leaf, and the only charge I paid for was in an Edinburgh car park, and it cost 50p.
Yeah.
And I was there for a week, and I didn't use the car, to be fair, because I was in the middle of Edinburgh and I didn't need to. But basically, the journey there and back, 50p it cost me. It was the only cost. That was when the electric highway was free.
Yeah. Like I didn't. The first week we had that car, my wife's going to kill me for this. She got a speeding ticket because the car's so quiet. She didn't realize how fast she was going, and I drove it to Eastbourne and back on my first drive. My first drive in that car was I drove to Eastbourne and back, which is a little bit of a trek for me. It was more than a range of the car. And at the time, we didn't have any home charging, so we were completely reliant on public charging because our charger hadn't been fitted. I remember getting to this car park in Eastbourne, and the charge bay had a big cone in it saying see the parking attendant. I was like, oh my god, I'm gonna be flatbedded home. And all it was they were just covering it up so no one else parked in it. And they were really good. I remember charging my car there. I even ran back in the middle of my day. I was at a convention, ran back to move it. He's like, you could have left it here, mate. We did fine. I was like, no, someone else might need it. So I remember moving the car. I remember driving off with him, waving at me frantically, and I couldn't work out what it was. And he caught up to me on the outside and said, "You left your charging flap open." All these things have happened to me. So it's just a learning curve thing. And going back to your original question, I think those three camps pretty much sum up. I'd say early adopters. You either like the tech, you're on eco. You want to be more eco, so you went electric, or you're trying to save money and you'd actually done the maths. I think it's changing a bit now with the 2030 thing now being, now definitely happening. I think people are much more aware of where we're going. And I think if you're looking at numbers now, you're looking at depreciation, and ICE cars are depreciating like unbelievably. I can't even say. I was talking to friends literally last few days, and they returned their car, which they leased. Fair enough, they had it for 3 years. They leased it and they returned it, and it lost in that 3 years. It lost something like 60% of its value. And it's a nice car, and of course lockdown, you didn't drive it much. It's not even that high mileage because they were offered it to buy it back, and they've gone for something else. They've gone for or they wanted to go more eco, so they've gone for a hybrid. Unfortunately, they didn't make the jump. But just my car, my e-Niro, I've had that over 2 years now. If I part exit now, I would get probably 26 grand for it, and if I privately sold it, I'd probably get around 30 for it because they're really in demand. It's like an amazing car, and I paid 32 for that car.
Yeah, it is amazing that the way things are changing there. It's just people are becoming so much more aware as well, aren't they? So speaking, that'll segues on to. So tell us about the work of EVA England. such things as what the annual fee is and what people can expect to get for their money or
Okay.
the work you're doing?
So, right. So let's go back to the beginning then. So I've been involved in various things for a while now. I got involved in Transition Town, so I opened up my house to people to let them see my house and do various bits. I've been interviewed on TV and radio and all that kind of stuff. I do a lot of stuff with the group Nexus, so Sussex EVs, Essex EVs, all the EV clubs around the country, and we do stuff with them. And so through that, I was contacted by some people who were trying to do to set up an EVA for England. And at first I couldn't get my head around what they were trying to do, because a lot of the stuff that I thought that they were trying to do was already covered by Nexus. You know, the clubs are there, the community is amazing. The EV community in this country, for the most part, is just amazing. There's such lovely people. They've helped me out, they help each other out. It's a real pioneering community feel at the moment, which I love. I absolutely love. But I couldn't understand why we needed anything more. And it wasn't until I looked at what EVAs do that I understood it. So EVAs don't just do the community side of it. In fact, with EVA, you know, we're not as involved in that community side because the Nexus is so good. This lobbying side. So right now, the government, when they're asking people for help, it goes out, and the people who respond are, well, car manufacturers and the fossil fuel, you know, lobbyists who are telling us that, you know, the likes of, you know, big petroleum who are selling us petrol and diesel, and they're telling the government what we need, and there needs to be a voice in there. And so in March 2020, these guys came back to me and said, look, we're really going to do this. They invited a few of us to kind of come on some meetings and talk to them. And through that stuff, I kind of committed to it. Others were too busy, which is, in fairness, you know, everyone's got is busy. Yeah, so that was March 2020. That was 6 of us set it up, 5 EV drivers and one guy he didn't drive an EV. He mainly used public transport. He cycled and walked, but he was very connected in lobbying. In June, I think it was June 2020, we incorporated as a community interest company. We were going to set up as a charity, but the paperwork is immense. So we set up as a community interest company. There are no profits. We're all volunteers. All our time is volunteered. We're fully independent. We've had some seed funding from some environmental funding people. Yeah, and basically we set ourselves up to try and be involved in that conversation with the government to accelerate EVs in England, basically.
Right.
Yeah, so what do you get for your money? Well, the money is £20 a year. There are benefits, you know, you get, you know, some discounts on some various bits and pieces. Like other people, we're doing that as well, and there'll be new ones coming. We're talking to insurance companies, we're talking to leasing companies, we're talking to recovery companies, we're talking to cables, you know, all the things you would expect to get. They are in the pipe. It just takes a while to do, especially because we're volunteers, and there's a lot of contracts to read and make sure that we're not going to be liable for anything, and that, you know, we're getting the best service. So that's all in the pipe. There are a few benefits now, including £50 off charger installs, onto £50 off. So yeah, so there's some bits in there.
Yeah, that is good. I mean, I think the work you're doing more than justifies the fee. It's just the kind of question people ask in Yorkshire is, £20, what am I paying that for? And it's a fair question, but you know, obviously I know and knew that you were doing lobbying, etc. But I wanted to put this out for our members so that they can have an understanding about what you're doing.
Yeah, and the thing is, though, a lot of the stuff we can't talk about it right now until it's announced. But nothing's being announced. Everything is everything is, everyone is dealing, and everyone is just trying to survive the pandemic. So no one's really putting out big announcements about the things happening. We've done so much work in the last year and a bit, but none of it is public. You know, the things we've done, we've responded to various questions from the government publicly. We've done surveys and taken surveys from members and non-members, and about EVs, and we put that in front of the right people, and we use that information to steer the conversation the way we believe it needs to be steered, and that our members want it to be steered. But we talk to BEIS, OZEV, Department of Transport. We're talking to Cenex. We're talking to New Motability and Motability, New Automotive, Transport Environment. We talk to other EVAs in Scotland, Northern Ireland. We're looking to help the Welsh guys get set up when they kind of pull themselves together. We talk to the Irish EV lot. We talk to EVAs all over the continent and now all over the world. We help set up GEVA, which is the Global EV Alliance. That's 26 countries, 37 organizations. We've got webinars coming up where our honorary members will come on board and do webinars, and there's a couple of those, one of which will be announced next couple of days, so I won't spoil that, and then one which will be just before Fully Charged, which I'm going to run, I don't know how, from a car park in Farnborough, maybe. So yeah, it'll be amazing, I'm sure.
So just to reiterate, you're all volunteers, and it's a not-for-profit organisation, and you're doing all that.
Yeah, we're all volunteers. So we have one full-time member of staff who's an operations manager, and her salary has come from the seed money that we got from our investors, and that runs for another few months, and then that money's gone, and then we're trying to work out what to do. We'd love to be able to have enough members support some full-time staff, because we're struggling to cope with the volume of work. Just there's so much to do and so few of us doing it. And props go to Bridget and Alan, who are retired and who do a lot of the work. They carry a lot of the load, and they're amazing people doing this from the kindness of their hearts. Big props to Jill, who I'm sure you've seen on the likes of BBC News and Fully Charged and all over the place, and she's amazing, and she will be flying the flag for EV owners, or as you see. Yeah.
Can people donate if they don't want a full membership anywhere?
So at some point, yeah, but so being a member is relatively easy for us from a tax point of view. We can say, you're a member, this is what happened. And for our tax stuff, it's very simple. When we start taking donations, it becomes more complicated. I'm not an accountant.
Yeah.
Our finance director is an accountant. And so it's in the pipe, but the complication side of it, so I would love to say, yeah, it'd be simple, but it's not my work to do, it's her work to do, and it's complicated enough that I'm not going to pressure it. There's so much going on that,
so the best way people can help is get a full membership as soon as possible.
Yeah, it's 20 quid. It's £20. It's through Go Cardless, so we don't even do that bit. It's all handled securely by Go Cardless. They do a £20 fee, and then they set up a recurring direct debit. You can cancel at any point if you want. To be honest, membership is important. It helps us stay independent. Like, if you look around and see where people are at the moment in this sort of EV scene, the trusted people are Fully Charged, and people trust Fully Charged, and people listen to what they say because they're independent, because they're not shilling for an oil company or someone else. If you look around at all the other, almost all the other players in that sort of sphere, that you kind of like, well, where is the money? Who's selling this? And Fully Charged, with their fully independent, they are doing amazing things. Are the voice of truth, shall we say? And we would like to maintain our independence for the same reason. Someone once asked me why I work for the company I work for. I work for a company called McDonald's, who are a big civil engineering consultancy firm. And someone said, why do I work for them? Why don't I work selling electric cars or doing the air source heat pump stuff or the solar stuff or whatever? And part of the reason I don't do that is because I maintain my independence. So if I come to you, ask me some questions about solar panels or batteries or electric cars or whatever, I'm not selling you anything. I can say, oh, that's a great car, or that's a great thing, but don't look at that, you should look at this as well. I'm independent to it. It doesn't make me any money to give you my advice, and that's all we need to be. And that's what you're supporting with your 20 quid. Your £20 goes to support that independence where we are not obliged to say nice things about the person giving us money.
Yeah, no, that's a fair answer, and I totally agree with your logic there. Yeah, it's important. Like I say, we've got other people than the oil lobbies talking to our government ministers, and I know, to be fair, a lot of the clubs have previously done a lot of work with local councils and can still continue to do so.
Yeah, and we help them with that where we can.
Yeah, we've got some very knowledgeable people in our group who I know have spoken in the right ears locally now and again. So from my point of view, I set up the Yorkshire EV Club as I just wanted centre community and for it to grow, and it would have a snowball effect. And yeah, we've grown from 2.5 years on from 5 members to 640 now, and it's just new people joining every day. And I love the fact that they're starting their journey now, and they've got so many people to help them. It is as you say, it's a real sense of community, isn't it?
Yeah, I was talking about that. I was talking to ZapMap a little while ago, and we were having these conversations and various bits and pieces, and they said that they can see in their numbers or in their figures. Obviously, they have data. That's what everyone wants. They have data, but they can see that over 50% of the EV drivers at any point are brand new. They've had their car for less than a year.
Wow.
So it's growing so quickly.
Yeah.
That, and it's really funny. You go onto the community. It's getting more interesting now because it's kind of hitting critical mass. Where in the communities, yes, you get the same questions again and again and again. But that's because half people in your club probably have just bought an EV.
Yeah.
You know, we are massive outliers. We've had our EV for 6 years. You've had your EVs for 6 years. We're massively on the outlying scale there, where we are absolute cutting edge pioneers compared to other people. And even now, those people coming in now are still pioneers. They're still ahead of the curve slightly. We haven't hit mass adoption yet. We're getting there, but it's not mass adoption yet. So we are still struggling with chargers. We are still leaving our charge flaps open. We are still, trying to pull cables out in the rain. We are still having those issues where we have no canopy and the charger doesn't work and we can't phone this person. And, worse than that, we're still having these conversations where people are telling us, oh, you can't go anywhere and it'll blow up. And, I don't want to charge 15 times. It'll take 200 hours. Your battery will die next week.
I saw a very frustrated post on one of the groups. It was a general group rather than specific. And this owner had said, I'd happily have my £500 Fiesta.
Yeah, I read that as well.
I've got a 3-year-old, and 2 a.m. I'm trying to sort it out. And I just said to her, well, we've all been there. Just let it out. We all understand. This is the place to let it out. And it's gosh, yes. I mean, I remember driving back from Edinburgh at that time, and ZapMap was showing up all sorts of things that weren't there back in the day, and I'm driving down the east coast from Scotland into England, and it was a choice really. Within my old Japanese-built Leaf, I said to Julie, you can either have the heater on or we can make the charge point. It's up to you. Well, I think what I find interesting is that just about everyone I know that's had an EV for any length of time is immediately interested in solar panels, other ways of reducing their carbon footprint. And that's what excites me with all these new EV drivers, that we're going to get people who are more people buying solar panels, more people investing in green companies.
I think once you buy an electric car and you plug it in at home and your electricity bill goes up and you start going, oh, my electricity bill is so high, it's never been this high. And then you actually realize how much money you were spending on petrol and diesel. You suddenly go, hang on a minute. Like, I'm moaning about my electricity bill and this is super cheap. What can I do about this? Oh, I can get a better tariff. I can go to an eco tariff. I can get solar panels. I can do these things. Once you start going down that sort of route, it just makes you think about a lot of the things we do, not just with our electricity usage, but our food usage, our water usage, our plastic, our single-use plastic, our consumerism in general, kind of all comes from the same thing. So yeah, I do like that this is opening up that conversation to making things better, and that's what I'm. At the end of the day, I just want to make things better for my little girl. Like I had this vision that in 30 years time, 35 years time, I'll be talking to my grandkids, and my grandkids will be asking me what I did. And I want it to be very clear that I this is what I did, because they're going to look back at pictures of me and, oh, here's Grandpa Warren driving a Ferrari, here's Grandpa Warren driving a Hummer. Hang on a minute, this isn't what we expected. I want there to be enough counter to be, oh, here's Grandpa Warren with his solar panels and his electric cars, and just so I don't think I'm a complete arsehole with it, because we have to answer to the future generations. That's kind of just makes me think, why aren't we doing more?
And they get it, don't they? The little ones, certainly, they get it very quickly. They immediately know what a Tesla is. This is what they're growing up. And I like to think that all of the kids that are going to be taking driving lessons in 5-10 years time, it's all going to be in EVs. There won't be a choice.
Yeah, I think so. Now, look, I love cars. I'm a big Formula One fan. If you can see behind me, I've got Ayrton Senna over there and Lewis Hamilton over there. So I love cars. I love Formula One. I love motor racing. I love all this stuff, and I do believe it will have a place going forwards. But day to day, we should be doing whatever we can to keep the planet, reasonably healthy. We need to just not be doing as much damage to it as we are currently.
Amen to that. Probably a good place to finish, Warren. So thanks ever so much for your time today. I'll let you get on with
no worries, mate.
Thanks ever so much.
Thank you very much. Take care, buddy.
Bye bye.